What's up? Welcome back to this new series that I'm creating. It's Court Jester, aka Logan, and we're here at Destiny 2, which you might be thinking, Destiny 2 is almost dead and gone and destitute. Well, you'd be right, but I have spent way too much time and way too much money on this game to have not explored all of the content that I have access to. So, I'm starting a new series with the express purpose of beating all of the dungeons and all of the raids that I have not played and also played. I just want to play them all back to back to back to back in a series so that I can get the full D2 experience before this shit hits the gutter, before this shit disappears. My game is freezing. Okay, we're good. But that's essentially the concept. Is I want to play through all of the dungeons and all of the raids that I've bought over the years, but most of which I've never played, so that I can get the full experience before the game inevitably just has 0 players or gets shut down. I don't know if that's ever going to happen, but it is looking really, really, really bad. So we're going to start with the dungeons that I've done before. The dungeons that I've actually been able to solo before. Not Eternity, sorry. Because I think I need to kind of warm up. I haven't played the game in months. I did a test run earlier and it went okay-ish. I didn't do great. I got some of my good items in my inventory. But that's about it. We'll rock this guy, we'll rock that guy. I don't know. Do I want Eager Edge? Perhaps. Put some flex on him. We're running a nice little Falcons build. Very simple. I've had this build since I basically got addicted to the game and never got rid of it because I just love the popping of the void explosions. But yeah, we're going to start out simple with the dungeons I've been able to solo, or the dungeons I've gotten close to soloing at least. And then we're going to kind of build up into the raids that I've done. I've only done one raid in this game, but it's Rooted Nightmares, which is arguably the easiest one. Kind of crazy. And then we're going to go from there. The goal is to do them all. Alright, so I believe there's 19. I believe there's 10 dungeons and 9 raids that we have to do here. So this should be a 19-part series. And basically the feel for the video is going to be, I load in, kind of chill out, and then, just load in, just chill out, and talk about whatever's on my mind, whether it's the game or whether it's something else entirely. That's the idea. Of course, I got an Eager Edge. Don't expect supreme gameplay here. I'm still not fresh, so. But starting off with Shattered Throne. I don't know if I said that. I just kind of loaded in. Shattered Throne is not a hard dungeon. It's more like a strike with some more involved encounters. It's a little bit longer than a typical strike, but some of the more involved strikes are pretty similar in length, to be honest. And if you're running it with 3 people, you can really smoke it. That being said, it's fairly easy to solo. I'll be honest. I soloed it, when I set out to solo it, I didn't have much difficulty actually completing a solo attempt. There's a little bit of, I'd say the most difficult part in Shattered Throne is the, jumping puzzle with the ogres, the Anor Londo section. Mostly because the checkpoint is pretty bad for that. If you end up falling off, you have to run so far. And it's easy to run past those guys and get smoked while you're trying to run past the people trying to get into that Anor Londo section. Other than that, it's not too bad. Now, here's my problem. I don't necessarily remember where all of these are. So, this is going to take a second. So, that was fish. That was fish, I believe. Oh, here it is. Nice. Sick. I like this Ross Aragos. It speeds up, I believe. I don't remember what perk that is, but it's pretty sick. I also don't know what these returner gifts are that I'm getting. I think it's for the stupid, goofy-ass Star Wars stuff, but I'm not... I'll be honest, I'm not interested in that at all. It was difficult for this game to keep me on board with it, and then they like revealed that they were going to do a Star Wars collab, and it lost me entirely, you know? I think when you start collabing with bigger IPs to keep your game making money and keep your game relevant, that's when you kind of lose me. Then you start treating me... Then when I start realizing that I'm being treated as a consumer, that's when I start having a lot less fun. Now, obviously, that's a little ironic to say, considering I bought a lot of the DLC for this game. Even after it came out. Like, I bought the Forsaken pack, which is why I have Shattered Throne, even though I never played Forsaken. So that's a little, like, hypocritical to say, but I don't know. Something about making a Star Wars expansion just rubs me the wrong way. It chafes my loins, man. It really does. But yeah. I believe this is where Dragon is at. It is. Look at me, dude. Oh, dude, I'm on fire. I'm remembering a little bit from my test run earlier. Yeah, I'm not too worried about Shattered Throne. Shattered Throne, easiest dungeon in my opinion. Pit of Heresy, I'd say, would be our next run. And Pit of Heresy is also pretty easy. Definitely soloed that one quite a few times. There are parts of Pit of Heresy that stress me out, but I don't think it's anything too much to worry about. I think we just go in blind and we just rip it, you know? Kind of tired of talking about the game. I've been watching one episode of One Piece every day. That's been a new... I didn't see what side it was. I've been watching one episode of One Piece every day. It's like a new goal that I've set for myself. It's like, I want to experience this franchise that everyone says is like some type of peak, you know? But like, just watching it outright is not enough for me because I'm either going to get really deep into it, something's going to come up in my life, and then I'll never finish it, and then when I go back to it, I'll feel obligated to start over again, and that's just not going to ever work with something like One Piece, because of how absolutely long it is. Also, I got it right, nice. But I came up with this idea of watching it one episode a day only. And this works in multiple kind of ways. It acts as like a mental health tool, honestly, in addition to like helping me build up media references for One Piece, you know? It's like now I'm understanding One Piece references, but I'm also slowly, I'm not quite there yet. I'm on episode 33, but eventually I will. But more than that, like, doing something daily creates a routine that becomes a ritual. And that's really important when you're someone like me who kind of struggles with just being thrown off kilter and falling into swings of depression and being borderline bipolar, you know? So, is it crazy to say that, like, One Piece is offering some type of stabilization in my life? A little bit, but at the same time, it is a little true. It is offering that in some small ways. Another thing it does is it helps your brain kind of become accustomed to disappointment. When you're excited to go do something in your day, like when there's something you're looking forward to with your day, and it ends up just being a crappy episode of One Piece. You know, like every day I'm like, oh dude, today's my episode of One Piece. And then when the episode ends up being shitty or like crappy, that helps my brain, like, be okay with things that happen to be a letdown. Which I feel like is important to get used to in life. It's like, you can get used to failing, but getting used to being let down is a different thing, you know? Being excited and then being disappointed is different than being the feeling of failure, you know? And I feel like, because of the horrible pacing of One Piece, I'm gonna get plenty of time dealing with that feeling. You're saying, I mean, you might think that sounds like torture, and you're right, it kind of does, but it also is exactly like it's definitionally it's like the exact definition of what exposure therapy is. You expose yourself to something that makes you uncomfortable so that the next time it threatens to make you uncomfortable or destabilize you, it makes you feel better. Like, or it doesn't make you feel better, but it's not as destabilizing. I don't know. My recommendation? Everyone watches One Piece, one episode a day. I think it might be the best way to watch the series, if I'm being honest. You're not getting too much of it, so that you can appreciate the little the subtleties. You're sipping on it like a fine wine, but in this, I mean, in One Piece's case, it's more like a fine Kool-Aid, I guess. It's not really a wine. But no, it's making me appreciate things I would normally blast past when I'm just like binge watching a show in its entirety. Like recently, I also binge watched Hunter x Hunter, and that was really enjoyable. But like, the whole time I watched Hunter x Hunter, I was stuck on the Bharati in One Piece, which was very fun. Like, I watched all of Hunter x Hunter. I watched, you know, York New City. I watched the Hunter exams. I watched the Chimera Ants arc, and then in that same time, while watching One Piece once a day, like, Luffy had only got one punch in on Dawn Creek. Like, you know? It's just very interesting. And in instances like that, I really want things to move faster, but the fact that it moves slow is also what makes it so enjoyable in the moments when it starts moving fast and picking up speed, in my opinion. Like, I've really started to fall in love with some of the characters and enjoy, like, their little arc-to-arc interactions. Like, getting to see Sanji and Usopp talk to each other, or, like, Zoro call Usopp a bastard is really entertaining to me. I like it. It's making me feel like it is an adventure, you know. It definitely, that's the one thing you can't take away from it, is it does feel like an adventure. And watching it one episode a day makes it feel more like that. Also, this new arc I'm on, I'm really enjoying. I'm on Arlong Park. I just finished... also, we're just about done with Encounter 1 of Shattered Throne. Look at that. I just finished, like, Bharati and had... I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it's fine. I just finished Bharati and had... we had Sanji join the group. Sanji, the cook. And... which I think is cool. I've seen some people complain about his goonerisms, you know, his like him being a perv, which is kind of disappointing because I think he like is cool enough with what I've seen already. Like, I don't, when he goes into like perv mode over Nami, the few times I've seen it, it just feels like kind of not really the Sanji that I've seen. But kind of losing tangent. I think Arlong Park is really, really good. Because something that I've complained about... The way I've been watching the show, by the way, is... I've been following, like, this Reddit thread that I found that is, like, has all the episodes, the movies and the specials, and then it cuts them up based on which one you're supposed to watch at what time. So it's like after episode 26 of Syrup Village, which is like the end of Syrup Village, you're supposed to watch the first movie. And so that's what I've been doing. And I've been reviewing those like specials and movies because I can just put those on my letterbox and just rip a rating and review. And I think my biggest complaint most of the time is like, what is Nami's point in the story? Like, it feels like she wasn't really on board a lot of the time. Like, it felt like she was part of the group, but also still an outlier at the same time. And I didn't really understand that or mess with it. So I kind of... The start of Arlong Park and this newfound development of Nami has been really, really, really entertaining. Like, I'm quite enjoying it. And I really appreciate, like, the writing and Oda for that. Like, how they can introduce a character like Nami or like Zoro, but then make it a little bit of a slow burn on when they're going to reveal things about their background, their backstory. And I'm sure there's more that we'll come to know about all the characters. Which I find entertaining. Like, sure, we got a lot of surface, like, immediate exposition on Sanji and Usopp, but I doubt that's all we're going to get on them. I'm sure we'll get a little bit more as time goes on. I don't know. I like it. And I'm definitely enjoying Arlong Park. The fishmen are intimidating. Arlong is an a-hole. I like his design. His design is sick. Might be my favorite designed villain so far. I feel like if they opened with a villain like Arlong, I would have kept with the show the first time I tried to watch it. I got like to Buggy and I just like got fed up because I think Buggy's annoying to look at. Arlong's just cool, man. Like, he's intimidating. There's some themes of like racial divides, I guess. I don't even know if species divides. It's not race. The fishmen are just, I guess they're technically a different race, but they're also just a different species, right? I don't know. I like it. Also, I like to take this section specifically pretty slow. Mostly because if you die, you're all the way back to like that point where you drop off. And I don't fuck with it. Sorry, I don't mess with that. I need to stop cursing. It's just, it's been ingrained in my brain. Yeah. It's not even just those curse words. Like, I used to... Man. Comparatively to past versions of myself, I'm doing a lot better in terms of cursing. But, still. Gotta do a little bit better. Even more. It's all about... Life is all about just, like, taking in inputs and outputting something different, you know? It's all a series of inputs and outputs. Where's Charles Darwin to write something on that? Is that even funny? I don't... Hey, Logan, let's make a joke now. You've been talking about One Piece and Destiny for 18 minutes. Let's make a funny joke. I don't know. I've been watching a lot of Pay Money Webby. I don't know if anyone out there likes Pay Money Webby. I think Webby is a silly little dude. I kind of admire his content. I feel like I have similar outlooks with him on certain things, especially like the morality of things that are funny, especially related to like bullying. Like watching for example, like watching some of the videos he does on like Joshua Block or like Daniel Larson. It's like all hail King Ishid Anfarad, you know? But his take on it is so human. That's kind of the take I had already. You know, it's that, like, yeah, objectively, lolcow stuff is really messed up because you're taking advantage of someone who should not be taken advantage of and should, for all intents and purposes, not have access to the internet. Like, they should have a caretaker that removes the internet from them, removes their phones from them. But, like, also, just the level of trolling that is being slapped down onto them is honestly admirable because of how freaking creative it is. Like, Daniel Larson being tricked into being sent to fake college classes on Zoom and being taught whole lectures about ancient Texas, that is objectively some of the funniest stuff of all time, but with the horrible gray morality backdropping of it being like, man, this guy can't understand that it's a joke, and that's why it's funny. You know, and that's that's really wrong, but I don't know. Also, I like Webby also because he's a good entertainer. Just generally, I appreciate what he puts out there. I think 24-hour tag was literal torture for those involved, but man, was it funny, right? Like, man, was it funny. That's the type of stuff I would like to make. It's not the type of ideas I have, but like, I'd like to make my ideas like grand like that. If I got the backing necessary, you know. He talks about that too, like if he even had more of a budget, what type of stuff he would make, and I think that's fun. Makes it feel like it's more about just like making something to satisfy some creative itch rather than just making something purely for money, which is ironic considering his name is Pay Money Webby. You know. Also, I hate this section so much. I freaking hate this section. I call it Anne Orlando, but I've never played Dark Souls 1 far enough to have made it to proper Anne Orlando. I stopped like right before going into Sin's Fortress. It's the only Dark Souls game other than like Demon Souls, I haven't completed. I never finished the DLC for Elden Ring, I guess, but you know. Still. Very interesting. For some reason I felt like the the spray of my gun was gonna shoot me off the edge. I don't know why. Alright. Whew. Obviously, Strand or an Eager Edge Sword makes that a little quicker, but I'd rather just beat it safe. I think that's a checkpoint, though. I think this is a checkpoint. I'm not quite sure, though. Yeah. I thought before we went in there, I like Pay Money Woody. I think he's cool. That's a content creator I've been watching a lot of. Before that, I watched a lot of Ludwig, but I feel like Ludwig has become a little bit too corporate for me. I like what Ludwig's able to do, but maybe I see a little bit too much through his disguise of like playing the dummy for rage bait and for clips. Doesn't mean that a lot of the stuff he makes isn't funny. Just feels a little less inorganic. Which segues me into an idea. I fucking died. Oops. Which segues me into an idea. It's not a flawless run, unfortunately. Into an idea. Segues me into an idea. How many times are you going to say that, King? Into an idea that I had. That, like, the more money you end up coming in, like, gain in life, the more your charisma that helps you get that money starts to just leak out of your ass. Like, I feel like there's many such cases of this being a thing. Like, those who had good charisma before they became millionaires or billionaires, you know? The second they gain a mass amount of wealth that, like, separates them from normal, everyday 9 to 5 people, that's the second, like, their charisma just starts leaking from them. That's the second they become too unrelatable to keep up the guise of having good charisma. Think about Mr. Beast. Like, if you go back to Mr. Beast's old content, it was charismatic. It was charming. It had a luster to it, you know. I'm gonna count to 100,000 in one sitting, you know. I'm gonna, like, there was charm to it. New Mr. Beast is a husk. He doesn't feel human. And that's just because he's got too much damn money. And I find that unfortunate. I feel like that's the thing that's kind of happening to me with Ludwig, maybe. That's why I think that, like, if I ever came into a lot of wealth, I would spend enough to make sure I'm okay, set, and can retire. Just enough so that I can retire. Not enough that I don't have to keep working. Ideally, like, the work that I'd be doing is, like, creative work. Making stuff still. But, like, enough to make sure that I can retire when I am of an old enough age. But then, like, just not hoard money and not buy shit that I don't need. I need a single car and I need a home. And if I want to have kids, which, you know, the only time I would ever consider having kids is if I'm financially stable enough to bring them into this world. I'm not bringing in kids if I'm going to have to, like, screw them over by being a chud, you know? That's just unfair. Also, I've got the wrong setup here. Point is, I think if I were to come into a lot of money, something like that, I would definitely... Is there any... I'm gonna go check for image, special ammo over here. I'd get myself the bare necessities. And then I'd spend the rest of the money, like, either on, like, just donations of some sort, like either like community or like interpersonal, things that keep my family together, like family members, or things that keep the community that I live in together. I think that is the best way to preserve your charisma and your humanity, despite having more money than you would likely know what to do with in your lifetime. Who needs more than one car? Who needs more than... like, you don't need to collect shit, let's be honest. Like, and I fall into that consumer trap of, like, I'm gonna have a giant collection of Pokemon cards, but it's like, what do the Pokemon cards do? They sit on your damn shelf, and then what? If you're that rich, you're not using them as an investment. They're not like some type of stock where you're investing in them. It's like they're just... I might die here. They just sit there. And then you look at them every now and then they just make you feel happy, I guess, for a bit, but then that happiness is just so hollow. And that's the same with, like, every collection. Collections are, by definition, like a hollow thing. They aren't real life. The things that are real life are, like, relationships and people and experiences. So maybe spend a little of your money, like, traveling, but, like, if we're being honest, you don't need that much money to even travel. People who are far from as rich as, like, you know, some of those other people don't have money to travel. Or have enough money to travel to places, to basically anywhere they want every year. And, I don't know. This is what I think. That's just what I think. Hopefully we can one-phase this guy. It just reminds me of a story. I was working at a gas station. Every oh, come on, come on, come on, come on. Oh, that's tragic. Every weekend, or sometime during the week, this guy who was obviously quite well endowed with money would come in and buy some type of loadout of lottery tickets, right? And it was quite obvious to me that he had a lot of money, because at one point he told me, he's like, oh, I'm going to the golfing range. It's like, that's such a stereotypical thing to do, number one. But number two, the things that he would buy were excessive. He'd come in and spend $116 on like not scratch off lottery tickets, but like Powerball and the Mega Million and that type of thing. And he had a specific loadout that he had me scan in for him of like numbers that he thought were winners. And I couldn't find that guy enjoyable to talk to or relatable or anything of the sort, because if you're rich enough to blow $100 on those type of, if you have enough money to blow that much money on Mega Millions and Powerball tickets every weekend, what's the point of you even winning the jackpot? Why do you need to win the jackpot? If you just save that money, invest it, like, it made me just sick. It's like, what is the point of winning? Just to accrue more money? And I just didn't understand. Like, it made him so unrelatable, because it's like, number one, I find gambling, I don't understand it. Like, I understand it more from a, like, a dopamine thing, or like this thing is something desirable that I want. But, like, that type of gambling where there's just literally never a payoff just makes zero sense to me. And so I mean, he wasn't an unkind dude. I never found myself liking him or finding him relatable, because I just found the whole constant transactions just pretty strange. I don't know. Is that kind of was that prejudice of me? Is that fucked up, man? It's like the fact that, like, someone's got enough money to spend that much money on trying to get more money when other people don't have money to begin with makes me mad. Just makes me mad. And no matter how much a person like that can pretend to be my friend or pretend to be friendly to me, I will never, like, be able to find common ground with them. I don't think. Yeah, I don't know. We're nearing the end. We're doing pretty good. We've only died once, so it's pretty good. I wish I could have one-phased second boss. Let's see, what's I think I want... Okay, I think I want Witherboard for encounter number 2. And Recluse Retrofizz. Yeah, this is all okay. I probably need to bring out my, like, hothead. So I have a rocket launcher that's not Gjallarhorn. For future dungeons. Yeah. Now, Shattered Throne's really easy. I've been just casually yapping about random crap while playing through and only dying once. And I'm far from a good Destiny player. I'm a competent Destiny player. That's what I'll give myself, you know? Also, you guys see the new Pokemon starters for Wind and Waves? Very exciting. I'm assuming it's only going to be out on Switch 2, which is a little disappointing to me. I don't have one. But I guess by the time it comes out, it's 2027, man. Like, I should have the funds or have the ability to have gotten the Switch 2 by then. And there's some decent games on the Switch 2 that I might perhaps want to play. I don't know. I've got a lot to say about the starters. I think, but I'm probably gonna make a video on it. Just kind of discussing them. It'll be like something like a mood board, where I just put a bunch of pictures that make me that they bring up in me. But I'll start with just saying that, like, I think they are probably the best set of 3 basic starters, like the starters themselves, that we've gotten since that, like, Unova. I'll be honest. I didn't like... I really did not like Galar. I didn't love Paldea. This is taking a little bit more brain power than I have access to right now. But, like... I didn't love Paldea. I thought Fuecoco was cool. I mean, Quaxley was alright. But Sprigatito was just mid. Like, this is one of the first gens where I like all 3 of them. In a long time. Like, I could foresee myself picking all 3 of them without knowing what their final evos look like. I did not like Galar. I hated Scorbunny. But I thought Sobble and Grookey were alright. Gen 7? Oh, I hate Gen 7 Space Evolutions. I hate Alola's base evos. I don't like Rowlet. I don't like Litten. And I don't like Poplio. Gen 6? Gen 6 is also bad. Froakie's cool. Finnegan's mid, and Chespin is the worst starter that's ever been created, in my opinion. And then Gen 5, Gen 4, Gen 3, that's where they start getting beat out for me. I think Gen 5 is likely the best set of starters. I love Tepig, I love Snivy, I love Oshawott. And Snivy and Oshawott are 2 of my favorite starters of all time, so, I mean, it's difficult. But I do think this set of 3 has some serious potential. That being said, we're here at the final room. This is a little bit of a lock-in moment, so I'm gonna have to lock in. Basically, if you've never played this before, you have to kill like these 3 big guys around the same time because they drop a buff. And the buff they drop is what you need to like deal damage to the main chick. But if you pick up the buff, I think the buff expires if you kill them too early, but if you pick up the buff before you're killing them all, your buff expires, or you have to dunk it early, in the middle. I don't remember if you have to dunk it. I'm assuming that you do, because that seems like Destiny. But the gag, and why it's a little difficult with one person, is that you kind of have to get them around the same amount of HP. With just 3 of them. And it's a little hard to know kind of how much health they really have. Also, when they get down to a certain amount of health, I believe they like start charging. Spawns this crystal every now and again, which is annoying, but not too bad. Luckily we have good ad clear with the Scions, so... Honestly, might just try to take him out right here. One of them. Here is 2. Here is 3. And then you just dick her down with damage. Actually, we're doing really good. Yeah, we might be able to do it. Look at that. Nice. 1 phase, baby. So, yeah, that's, that is Shattered Throne. It's a lot easier. Than basically everything else we're gonna have to do. It didn't have any, like, ammo crates, or, like, designated encounters, or, like, divided up encounters with ammo crates between them. I don't remember if Pit of Heresy does either. But, yeah, this was like the first dungeon they made back from Forsaken, I think. Which, funny that I never played Forsaken campaign, but got to play this. And I didn't really get to talk about how much I love, like, the design of the Dreaming City, but I do love the design of this dungeon itself. I just kind of yapped about other stuff. Takeaways. This dungeon's very simple. It sets the formula for dungeons kind of roughly, but they kind of expand it out from here a little bit more. Most of the other dungeons have more encounters. This one only has like 2.5. The first one doesn't really count. And they're really easy. They're scaled so low that you can like beat them in 1 phase with a really unoptimized build. But in terms of aesthetics, it's one of my favorites. I won't lie. The Dreaming City is beautiful. I love how dark it is, dismal. I don't know. I love the aesthetics of it. None of the puzzles, none of the boss fights are too difficult to figure out, even after coming back and not knowing how to do it entirely. The platforming is fine. There's the Anor Londo section, which can be frustrating, but in terms of like wider platforming puzzles in D2, it's really not too bad. So 37:17, sub 1 hour, sub 40 minutes. Yeah, that is Shattered Throne. That's 1 out of 19 done. If you want to see more out of the series, like, subscribe, comment down below what you think I should do next. I probably won't follow those suggestions. I think I'm going to do Pit of Heresy next, and then after that I'll probably do Grasp of Avarice or Prophecy. I'll probably do all 4 of those by myself first. When I was looking at like Fireteam Finder with how dead this game is, a lot of the older dungeons didn't have any activity or anybody trying to set up lobbies. The only dungeons that had activity were the newer ones. So it seems like I'm just going to have to solo a lot of them, which is fine, because like that's part of the dungeon experience, is like learning how to solo them. So I'm perfectly okay with that. And honestly, soloing dungeons is a little bit more fun than playing them with randos. However, raids is going to be a different story. That's where this series is going to get a little goofy, because we're going to meet some fun characters, hopefully. We're going to likely meet some fun characters, or we're going to maybe meet some recurring characters. I really don't know. Calling them characters like they're not human beings. Well, who knows? Who knows what we have in store for me? And maybe this will be the only video in this series. You never know. You never know. This is dragging on a little bit long. We're at 44 minutes in the recording, and the run only took 37. But if you enjoyed, like, subscribe, comment. Ring the notification bell. And with that, see you later.